So I would say we have some information. We have a way to say something about P3, and it's going to be the expected number of unacceptable final results. Okay. Now, I'm going to lump P4, 5, and 6 together. At the point where we report the result, then we kind of lose control of the process. It's important for us to understand the implications of an incorrect result in terms of the rest of the sequence of events. We need to be informed about it. We need to maybe try to estimate it, but we can't influence those, so we might as well just lump them all together. So P4 is the probability that an incorrect result leads to misdiagnosis. P5 is the probability that a misdiagnosis leads to a hazardous medical action. And P6 is the probability that a hazardous medical action leads to patient harm. The product of those four, if you knew them all and you multiplied them all together, that would just be the probability that an incorrect result that was reported leads to patient harm. And we might as well just lump it all together. There's no sense in us trying to estimate them individually. We just need an assessment of what the probability that a reported incorrect result will lead to patient harm. What's that probability? So I'm going to lump them together, and I'm going to use this notation. P, it looks like flu, P-H-L-U, but it's not flu. It really is this is the one little statistics that I had to fall back on. In statistical notation, a vertical line, the vertical line between the H and the U is replaced by the word given. It's usually what's used to define conditional probabilities. So this is the probability of harm given an unreliable result. So you just replace that vertical line with given. Probability of harm given an unreliable result. I originally, in one of my earlier drafts, I did 32 drafts of this talk. In one of my earlier drafts, I actually just had a P subscript capital H for probability of harm, but really this whole sequence is the probability of harm, so I had to distinguish it from that, so I used this. So I'm going to call it flu. Now, EP23 says that you need to use medical judgment to estimate the overall probability of harm due to receiving an incorrect result. And then they go on to say that you can use the medical literature, you can consult with your clinical colleagues, but you need to try to make some kind of a best guess or an assessment of what the probability is that an incorrect result will lead to patient harm. We're not talking about severity here. This is just the likelihood of occurrence of an incorrect result leading to patient harm. So P4, P5, P6, again, EP23 says that we need to be concerned about that and gives some guidance about the kinds of data you would use to try to get an estimate of it. But we're going to drop all that out and we're just going to replace it with flu here, okay? So I would argue now we have done a much better job of filling in some estimates and some predictors that start with an initiation of a failure leading to patient harm, right? All of these things, the mean patients between failures, patient results, is something that EP23 tells us we need to do. It also tells us we need to get the flu. And statistical quality control design principles give us the ENUs and the ENUFs, okay? I guess I've just said this. So risk management's telling us do something at that front end. Statistical QC is telling us something about this detection part. And then risk management is also telling us. So if you take what EP23 is talking about in terms of identifying the probability of failure modes occurring and assessing the probability of harm resulting from an incorrect result, and if you combine that with the kinds of things we do in statistical quality control design and evaluation, you really cover this whole sequence of events pretty nicely.